good times to put it out there. I've worked with soft drink companies in marketing their new product. Because you see this, why is Red Bull out there and this one here is right behind them? It's not just the product, it's not just the name, there's an energy on it. Same thing with clothing stores, fashion companies I do a lot of work with. I do a lot in the entertainment business. Producers want to know when's a good time to sign that contract. Signing a contract's like getting married to someone, even though it's short term. You see? So if you sign the contract at an inauspicious time, meaning not a good energy, and it's really scientific. If the ruler of the eastern horizon, which is the person commencing the act, is not in harmony with the other signifactors in the chart, it's like clockwork. I've seen it. So it won't replace skills. It's not going to replace talent, and it certainly will not replace passion and drive. But like a stop-and-go light, it gives you a good wind at your back. It's a good energy. It tells you when the winds come and when you can hoist the sails, you see. And also gives you a time that commences the act of what you're doing without a lot of energetic impediments, which is the key.
So, Jeff, my first guest is a publishing company, and I have written 3 books, and books
I do a lot of work with authors.
Yeah, I was wondering. Yeah. So, is there an author's out there, and they're looking to release a book? Of course, after the time it takes to get the book together and all the moving parts of it, when it's done, we want to go. I mean, there's no way. We just want to go, right? But is there a better time to do that than not do that because of the astrology of it?
Yeah, there's 2 trigger points in deals like that. Number one, if you sign or go signatory to a major publisher, when you pen that deal is what matters. When it becomes irrevocable. Meaning that if a major publishing house says, okay, great, Scheinman and Schuster are going to sign you on, or whoever it is, and they slide a check across the tape, or a contract and a check to develop it or whatever, those deals aren't as prominent anymore. That is really crucial, because what I mean by irrevocables, when you sign it and say, okay, this deal's rolling, that's what really matters. The second thing is when you release the book. Now, that one has been more complex because a lot of the larger publishers oftentimes will release it in one area or another area at different times. But in general, I've made it work really well when they release it on a good day. And then I give them windows. Now, if you're self-publishing, that's way easier. The reason why, self-publishing, most people can control. They're going to do a big splash on the internet. They might do some physical thing where they're actually, they're releasing it at a bookstore or a signing, or they may throw a party. The more media you can get in one big blitz, the better initially, and then from there follow through. I listened to you, by the way, and your guest for a few minutes as I was waiting in the queue, and some great stuff you guys were talking about, and that's true. You were the one saying if you don't get behind this thing and push it, it's just going to sit there and dry up on the vine, and it's the same thing with astrology. When you get that green light, we don't sit at the intersection with the brake on. You got to go, right? Really, yeah. I tell people the more push they can build towards this single day. Like I do a lot of restaurant openings in New York and some of the larger over in Europe. And what we do, I always tell the owner, make it big. I don't care if you can't afford a lot. You can put a sign. You can put out balloons. You can do whatever. Bring people in on lost leader items. Same thing with book releases. Make a splash and get your media and everything in order, and book radio stations. And make it happen as much as you can on that astrological time.
Now, Jeff, do you have a book?
No, I do not. In fact, I have 3 or 4 books I'm writing, but I am so busy with clients, I haven't had time to write them.
Yeah.
I've got a small motion picture company, and it just takes dedication to write a high quality book, especially the kind of stuff I'm doing, because it's very detailed. But I have to say, I'm so busy with clients every day. I don't have. I'm gonna have to take a couple of months off and just do it. And that's hard
Huh.
because a lot of clients put me on retainer. I have some very substantial clients in the entertainment business, and when I'm on retainer, I'm literally on call, so they can call me up and ask questions, or I do electional work for them. So it keeps me busy.
So I have a whole different look at this now. I mean, when I see astrology, I think of stars and the moon and the sky and all that. I don't ever really look too deeply at it. And when I seen this interview coming up where you could help business owners understand the right times to do things and do different things like that, I was like, well, I don't know. I'll tell you what I experienced. So there's a Mercury in retro. I'm sure you know about that, right?
Mercury goes retrograde 3 times a year. Always has, always will.
Well, I have a friend of mine that when I'm saying to her, because we do a lot of internet radio shows, 10, 12 a week, and so sometimes the internet is not cooperating. And she'll say, well, Mercury must be in retro, or it is in retro. I'm like, what the heck does that mean? So,
well, the geometry on that. See, if you go down the freeway and you watch a car that's next to you, if you're doing, say, 60 and that car is doing 55, if you don't look at anything else, it looks like that car is going backwards towards you because you're going 5 miles an hour faster.
right.
And if they're going faster, it's the opposite. Well, it's the same thing. The Earth goes at its orbital speed. We know from the second grade astronomy that none of the planets go backwards. So what that means in plain English is from Earth's perspective, it appears sometimes like planets are going backwards. They're not, but they actually are from our perspective. You have to remember, this is geocentric astrology, which means Earth-based. We don't live on the sun like astronomers model. We live on the Earth. So everything, and the ancient astrologers were very, I always laugh when I see these modern history books. I can show you stuff that is literally a couple thousand years old that, in my opinion, proves beyond a reasonable doubt. Not only did they know the Earth was round, they knew it was a globe, and they knew it orbited the sun. And to take it even further, in the Vedantic scriptures, they knew that our whole solar system goes around the central sun called Alcyon, which NASA has absolutely corroborated. And they know now that we're doing close to 500 million miles an hour around the central sun. And it's so fast that we don't orbit the sun like we think in the models. We spiral behind it in orbit. So, and they knew all this stuff at least 2,000-3,000 years ago. At least 2,000 for sure. We have records to about maybe 2,400 BC. But interesting stuff. I'm sorry, about 2,400 years ago.
Okay, so there's logic to that. Okay, I mean, it's true.
It messes up communications. Oh, yeah, and it really does.
Right, so
but it's also a great time to back things up and repair.
Right, so is it safe to say that we can compare our bodies to the same type of thing, right? So when Mercury is in retro, our bodies 2-3 times a year, is our energy going to be jacked up like that is? I mean, does that happen to us as people?
No. I think physically, it could affect people. There's something called medical astrology, which you certainly you'd have to see a chart. But when someone asks a question, astrologers always look at what planet is direct and what is retrograde, and also what's its condition. Condition just simply means, is it strong or weak in the chart, by placement, by sign. And again, ancient astrology is so much more detailed and rich than modern astrology. The stuff from the last century is, I call it love, light, and cluelessness. It's probably safe to say, like, what's your sun sign?
I'm sorry?
What is your sun sign?
I don't know what that means.
Well, okay. A lot of people run around and say, I'm a Taurus, I'm a Virgo, I'm a
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah,
Okay. I thought that might have been it, but I wasn't taking any chances. Gemini.
No yeah, see? Now, here's the problem with that. That was all started, well, it actually started as late as the late 1800s, but it really got popularized in the 1960s by a number of astrologers. One of them was Linda Goodman, and bless her heart, there's some truth to that. But the problem is today everyone identifies astrology by their sun sign. And if you get into ancient Jyotish astrology, which is out of India, you're probably going to find your sun sign isn't even the same. In other words, you might be a Cancer instead of a Gemini in that astrology. So what I always tell people in readings, because about 50% of my work is readings and the other 50 is business clients all the time. And I would tell you that I always tell people in readings, you're not your astrology. You're not a Gemini. You're a soul having a physical experience. The astrology is not you. It's influencing you. And that makes you senior to it. And that's one of the things. I actually have a letter in the Middle Ages from a group of rabbis in Europe talking to a man named Maimonides. I don't know if you know who he is, but he was a very famous healer in Jerusalem. And they said, God, astrology is so accurate. We help so many people with medicine and business decisions. And he wrote back, he says, yes. He says, but, he said, people will have more faith in astrology than they will in God and their own volition. And I actually agree with him. And that's kind of what's happened today, is people treat astrology as, this is it. This is the be-all, end-all. And I would say it's kind of more like a vector. It's a force that's acting upon you, but you are stronger. And this is what positive, the law of attraction and Tony Robbins and all the people, they're right. They're actually right. If you have a determination, you can overcome anything. However, it's smarter to know what you're up against. And instead of treating astrology like superstition, to treat it what it is. It's energy. And the religions have made it out to be, it's the work of the devil. No, it's not. Not at all. In fact, if you look in ancient India, they had specific remedial measures. I have clients who are politicians, bankers, and I shouldn't mention this, but I actually got some clients in the Federal Reserve. And I can tell you, these people, they don't use it superstitiously. They know what they're doing. At least we hope they do. And what happens is they just want to know what's good timing, or what is a probable outcome, or what's up against us. It's like an airline pilot. They're assessing the terrain. They want to know what's the weather. It's amazing if you fly today. I mean, I flew not too long ago, and the pilot comes on the radio and says, well, folks, we're going to hit some turbulence here in about 11 minutes. And I thought, well, geez, 11. He didn't say 10 or few. He said 11. And sure enough, in 11 minutes, boom, 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 bang, we're bouncing all over the place. And he, as a result, told the stewardesses not to break out the coffee. Now, that's using energy or knowledge appropriately. Same thing with astrology. If you see a crap storms coming your way in your business or what have you, you're going to be a lot smarter or better prepared if you know it's there and you know when it starts and when it ends, just like the pilot did. He knew with it. He said, no, well, folks, we're going to take it up to 39,000 feet or whatever it was. And we got right out of it. And then they broke out the coffee. So that wasn't superstition. That's called a radar screen, and the same thing with astrology. If you look at, okay, you've got a cycle. Like right now, I've got Mars and Sun in my 12th house, so my energy's a little down. So I know that. So I eat better. I'm laying off the coffee a little bit, and I'm taking it more easy in my communications with others. It's not superstition. It's energy.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jeff, I hate to cut you off here, but we got about 20 seconds left. I mean, time just goes quickly here, and I do apologize. But tell everyone how they can connect with you and help hopefully use your services.
Yeah, well, Tony, I want to use you as a bill connector. I love that collector, that name, Tony Gambone. You should be in a movie.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for somebody to invite me. That's all.
To cast you, right? You want to get cast,
Yeah.
right?
There you go.
All right. Well, it was enjoyable, and it's a short time. You're right.